आणिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जय आणिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जय आणिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जय आणिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर हे नो प्रभु कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर हे नो कोथा गेला आचार्य ठाकुर कहाँ मोरा स्वरूप रूप कहाँ सनातन कहाँ रूप कहाँ सनातन कहाँ दास रघुनाथ पतित पावन कहाँ रघुनाथ पतित पावन कहाँ मोरा भट्ट जुग कहाँ कविराज कहाँ मोरा भट्ट जुग कहाँ कवि एक काले को था गेला गोरा नटरा एक का को था गेला गोरा नटरा पाषाणे कुटीबो माथा आनले पाशिबो पाषाणे कुटीबो माथा आनले पाशिबो गौरांग गुणेरा निधि कोठा गेले पावो गौरांग गुणेरा पावो से सब संगीरा संगे जय कोई लो बिलाज संग से संग ना पाया कांडे नरोत्तम दास जे आणिलो प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर जय प्रेम धन करुणा प्रचुर হেনো প্রভু কোথা গেলা আচার্য ঠাকুর হেনো জয় প্রভুপাদা জয় প্রভুপাদা জয় প্রভুপাদা শ্রীলা প্রভুপাদা জয় শিলা ভক্তি সিদ্ধান্ত সরস্বতী গোস্বামী মহারাজ প্রভুপাদ কি জয়। Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for having me. Many of you actually don't know who I am, so I'll make a brief introduction. My name is Maha Bhagavat Das, and I'm visiting from ISKCON Toronto. My parents live here in Hyderabad, and my spiritual master is His Grace Sriman Sankarshan Das Adhikari, who has the famous ultimate self-realization course that has been running since 2003. It's the first online preaching program in ISKCON. You can join, all of you can join on www.joincourse.com, joincourse.com. It takes about a minute or two. It helps you to stay Krishna conscious the whole day long. So please consider doing that. My services in Toronto are book distribution and cooking and mentoring and so on. And I also mentor devotees from around the world through my website, dasadas.com, dasadas.com. I'm very grateful to be in your association here today at ISKCON Hyderabad, at the lotus feet of Sri Radha Madan Mohan. And it's very fitting, the verse today, you're going to see that we are speaking about this verse on the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, because today's verse is very, very amazing. Yesterday's too, and today's. So both these verses are very amazing. Okay, so we'll start with Jaya Radha Madhava. Since we don't have breakfast, can we go a little bit late? There's no problem? No problem, right? Nobody's in a rush, no breakfast? Okay. Anandamai Prabhu, yes, yes. For 50 years? Wow. Prabhu, I'm going to distribute lots of books here in India. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरावनचारि यमुनातीरावनचारि जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय 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 राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की सामवेद भक्तवृंद की जय हरे कृष्णा ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। ब्रह्मण्य देवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिः यत् चरणा अभिवन्दनात् अवाप लक्ष्मीम् अनपायिनीं यशो जगत् पवित्रं च महत्तम अग्रणी। ब्रह्मण्यदेवा पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीमनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणी। ब्रह्मण्यदेवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीमनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणी। ब्रह्मण्यदेवा पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीमनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणी। ब्रह्मण्यदेवा पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीमनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणी। माताजी ब्रह्मण्यदेवः पुरुषः पुरातनो नित्यं हरिर्यच्चरणाभिवन्दनात् अवापलक्ष्मीमनपायिनीं यशो जगत्पवित्रं च महत्तमाग्रणी। ब्रह्मण्यदेवः, the lord of the Brahminical culture. Purushaha, the supreme personality. Puratanaha, the oldest. Nityam, eternal. Harihi, the personality of Godhead. Yat, whose charana, lotus feet. Abhivandana, by means of worshipping. Avapa, obtained. Lakshmim, opulences. Anapayinim, perpetually. Yashaha, reputation. Jagat, universal. Pavitram, purified. Cha, also. Mahat, great. Tama, supreme. Agrani, foremost. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ancient, eternal Godhead, who is foremost amongst all great personalities, obtained the opulence of His staunch reputation, which purifies the entire universe by worshipping the lotus feet of those Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So, purport. The supreme person is described herein as Brahmanya Deva. Brahmanya refers to the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, or the Brahminical culture, and Deva means worshipable Lord. Therefore, unless one is on the transcendental platform of being a Vaishnava or on the highest platform of material goodness as a Brahmana, he cannot appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the lower stages of ignorance and passion, it is difficult to appreciate or understand the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Lord is described herein as the worshipable deity for persons in Brahminical and Vaishnava culture. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanahitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Vishnu Purana, 1st Canto, 19th chapter, text number 65. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the prime protector of the Brahminical culture and the cow. Without knowing and respecting these, one cannot realize the science of God. And without this knowledge, any welfare activities or humanitarian propaganda cannot be successful. The Lord is Purusha, or the Supreme Enjoyer. Not only is He the enjoyer when He appears as a manifested incarnation, but He is the enjoyer since time immemorial. From the very beginning, Puratanah, and eternal, Nityam, Yaccharanabhivandanat. Prithu Maharaj said that the personality of Godhead attained this opulence of eternal fame simply by worshipping the lotus feet of the Brahmanas. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord does not need to work to achieve material gain. Since He is perpetually supremely perfect, He does not need to obtain anything, but still it is said that He obtained His opulence by worshipping the lotus feet of the Brahmanas. These are His exemplary actions. When Lord Shri Krishna was in Dwaraka, He offered His respects by bowing down at the lotus feet of Narada. When Sudama Vipra came to His house, Lord Krishna personally washed his feet and gave him a seat on his personal bed. Although He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna offered his respects to Maharaj, Yudhishthir and Kunti. The Lord's exemplary behavior is to teach us. We should learn from His personal behavior how to give respect to the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 3:21, Yadyadacharati shreshthas tattadevetaro janaha. If the leading personalities behave in a certain manner, others follow them automatically. Who can be more of a leading personality than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose behavior could be more exemplary? It is not that He needed to do all these things to acquire material gain, but all of these acts were performed just to teach us how to behave in this material world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described herein as Mahattama Agranihi. Within this material world, the Mahattamas, or the great personalities, are Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. But He is above them all. Narayana Paro Avyaktat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is in a transcendental position, above everything created within this material world. His opulence, His riches, His beauty, His wisdom, His knowledge, His renunciation and His reputation are all Jagat Pavitram, universally purifying. The more we discuss His opulences, the more the universe becomes purer and purer. In the material world, the opulences possessed by a material person are never fixed. Today one may be a very rich man, but tomorrow he may become poor. Today one is very famous, but tomorrow he may be infamous. Materially obtained opulences are never fixed. But all six opulences perpetually exist in this material world. In the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only in the spiritual world, but also in this material world. Lord Krishna's reputation is fixed, and His book of wisdom, Bhagavad Gita, is still honored. Everything pertaining to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally existing. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalaam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So once again, thank you very much for having me here. So I am especially begging for the blessings of Anandamaya Prabhu and all the disciples and grand disciples Srila Prabhupada, without whom we would have known nothing about Krishna, especially not me, because I went to the West and I was not going there for Krishna consciousness. So I'm very grateful to all of you, Prabhu, and begging your blessings, and I beg that whatever I say may be pleasurable to Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Sambandha Adi Deva, Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra, and Shri Gaurnita and our Srila Prabhupada here, and all the Vaishnavas. In the material world, everybody uses your attention for their own benefit. So when you look at an advertisement somewhere, it is not for your benefit, it is for their benefit. When you look at the television, it is not for your benefit, it is for their benefit. When you go to the movies, it's not for your benefit, the actors are making money, the directors are making money, the producers are making money, not you. Right? When you read a newspaper, the politicians are getting your attention. Only in the spiritual world, your attention is used for your own benefit. So when we pay attention to the words of Srila Prabhupada, when we pay attention to the words of Srimad Bhagavatam, or anybody in the disciplic succession who is following strictly, then that attention benefits ourselves the most. So I'm begging you for your attention for the next little while. I don't have too much time, but I'll go a little bit over the usual time just because there's no breakfast today anyways. Right? So it's very fitting and it's very auspicious that we are speaking about these two verses around the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. So for those who might not have heard many of the classes, I'll give a very 2-minute quick summary, and then I'll talk about the background of the previous verse, and then we'll discuss this verse, and then we'll take some questions and reflections and comments and any corrections, and then we'll end the class there, okay? So the history of this verse, the history of this, so far, the most recent history of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the 4th canto, 20th chapter, 21st chapter, the previous couple of chapters, is that the descendants of Dhruva Maharaj are being described. Dhruva Maharaj is the grandson of Lord Brahma, the son of Uttanapada, and his descendants are there was one king named Vena, who was born of a very pious father, but his mother was the daughter of Yamraj. And so he acquired certain qualities, and those qualities he rejected God, basically. They elected him as God, as the king, but he rejected God and he says, I am God, all of you Brahmanas worship me. And the Brahmanas got very upset with him, and just by chanting mantras, they killed him. And then, as soon as they killed him, there was criminal activity all over in the kingdom, which was basically this whole planet. And so they said what to do. And then they were so advanced that just by churning his thighs, they made different living entities come out. And one of those living entities was Prithu Maharaj, who is the plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's a Shakti-Avesh avatar of Sri Krishna. And so Maharaj Prithu then performed Ashwamedha Yajnas. So Ashwamedha Yajna means horse sacrifices, in which he wanted to establish his authority on this planet. So he sent out a horse. He did this 99 times. He wanted to do 100 times. But once you do 100 times, you basically become equal to Indra. And so Indra felt very threatened by Maharaj Prithu. Even though he's the personality of Godhead, Indra felt threatened and he stole the horse. He stole the horse multiple times. And he took all sorts of disguises and he cheated in order to steal the horses. And Maharaj Prithu was very angry with him. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu himself appeared in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu and said, be satisfied with your 99. Okay? Just don't try to make 100, because Indra is also a respectable personality and I don't want there to be any conflict here. You will be always great that you have performed 99 sacrifices, so just be satisfied. And with the instruction of Lord Vishnu, he did not say, no, I want to do 100. No, I just want to complete my 100. He did not say that. He accepted Lord Vishnu's instructions. So he accepted the 99. And then this particular chapter is when he was performing another sacrifice at another time, he was instructing his citizens. And he was instructing his citizens through his own behavior, first and foremost, and then by his words. So that's very instructive for us, Vaishnavas, where we need to instruct with our own behavior first and foremost, and then with our words. When we are new in Krishna consciousness, sometimes it happens that we instruct with our words, but our behavior is not quite consistent with our words. So we should watch out for that a little bit. We should be careful about that. Okay, so why is it auspicious that this verse is being discussed on the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada? First of all, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj actually preached against what is known as the Asuri Varnashram. There are two kinds of Varnashram. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, Chatur Varnyam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha Tasya Kartaram Vimam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. Krishna says himself. He says that the Chatur Varnyam are created by me. Me is Krishna. And but I am the doer and the non-doer. So they are created. The caste system is actually created by God. But caste system is not bad. Caste system is not wrong. However, when you say that I am a doctor, therefore my son is going to be a doctor without going to medical school and performing the internship and learning in the hospital and operating on dead bodies and so on and so forth, then we have a problem because those doctors are unqualified. When the High Court judge says my son is going to be a High Court judge, that's a problem. Similarly, Brahmana is not something that someone acquires by birth alone. Birth is definitely a for example, if somebody is born in a big business family, then it's very likely that that person will become an expert businessman himself, or businesswoman, or family of lawyers, they'll all become lawyers. Family of doctors, they all become doctors. But they get qualified themselves. They have to learn how to do business. You can't be losing money and become a big businessman, right? You can't, right? So similarly, Brahmana is by qualification. In the Bhagavad Gita, that verse, Krishna has mentioned two things, which is guna and karma. Guna means qualities and karma means work. You cannot do the work of a third-class person and call yourself a Brahmana. That's not possible. In fact, Janmani Jayate Shudra Samskarat Bhavet Vija. Srila Prabhupada has quoted this phrase from the Vedic scriptures many times, that everybody, especially in Kali Yuga, Kalau Shudra Sambhava. In Kali Yuga, everybody is born as a Shudra. Nobody is born as a Brahmana. It's not possible. Right? Who is born as a Brahmana? Take, for example, Kapiladev. Right? When he was born, he was already self-realized. He did not have to get any instructions from anybody. So that is a person who is already born as a Brahmana. Right? But all of us, the rest of us, the little babies, they don't even know which side you are supposed to eat and which side you are not supposed to eat. They don't know what is clean and what is unclean. If the parents don't protect them, the children will die, isn't it? So actually nobody is born as a Brahmana. Right? So everybody is born as a Shudra. Kalau Shudra Sambhava and Janmani Jayate Shudra Samskarat Bhavet Vijam. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur preached this. He said, dear Brahmanas, you are very exalted if you are actually Brahmanas. You actually have to be, what is Brahma Janati iti Brahmana? Brahma Achariti iti Brahmachari, Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. So a person who actually knows Brahman, Parabrahman, they are actually Brahmana. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati preached very strongly about this, and many caste Brahmanas were extremely upset with him for preaching in this way, and they even tried to assassinate him, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Just like certain persons tried to assassinate Sri Ramanujacharya. 3 times he got 3 life attempts on him. Similarly, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also was tried to assassinate multiple times. But of course, somebody who Krishna rakhe, mare ke, Krishna mare rakhe ke. Like, so Krishna protected Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur so he could pass on his pure message to his Senapati Bhakta, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who could then take it around the world and catch rascals like me who have fallen out of the Varnashrama system. So this is very important for us to know. So I made a few notes about, and the previous one mentions, in the previous verse, which was discussed yesterday probably, 37, Ma Jatu Teja Prabhaven Maharadhibhis, that verse, the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of tolerance, penance, knowledge and education. By dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. It is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them. Rich people should avoid offending saintly people. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. We go out distributing books and, people are quite often offense personified. But it's very important for us book distributors not to take offense from anybody, because we are there to benefit others. If we take offense, then they will go to hell. Right? So we have to be very, very tolerant and very patient, very humble with all these people who don't know what is in their best interests. So we are distributing these books of Srila Prabhupada in this marathon month for this reason. But anyways, I can go on talking about book distribution all day long. Today's verse, I made some points here. So we say, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. That is a prayer from the Vishnu Purana that Srila Prabhupada also has quoted. So this is very important, that Brahmanya Devaya, so it's the person that the Brahmanas are attracted to are Sri Krishna. So there are actually Brahmanas who are still not yet fully and properly attracted to Sri Krishna. So you can say that they are initiated as Brahmanas, but they have still some way to become Brahmanas, because a Brahmana is a Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya Cha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. If a Brahmana is not yet attracted to Govinda, then you cannot call that person a Brahmana, in fact. They have been initiated and they are on the way maybe, but it will take them some time to come to the actual standard. In fact, the word Brahmana, according to the scripture, means Vaishnava. And a Vaishnava is automatically a Brahmana, even though they might not be wearing a thread or whatever. So we have so many examples. Narad Muni is there, and so many great examples. Srila Prabhupada himself, the topmost Brahmana on the planet, was born in a Vaishya family, right? But look at him and what he has done all over the world compared to all the other so-called Brahmanas who are just only, not fit for purifying anybody else. So that's a challenge. So one thing that we should remember, right? We have Bhagavad Gita, okay? And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find the Supreme Personality of Godhead speaking at different times, right? At different places, right? The previous chapter, Lord Vishnu was speaking in the sacrificial arena to Maharaj Prithu. And in this chapter, Maharaj Prithu is speaking to his citizens. Whenever the personality of Godhead is speaking, that is Bhagavad Gita. So if you actually want to understand Bhagavad Gita in a deeper and deeper way, you can study all of these different prayers and link them back to the different verses of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So you can actually learn the Bhagavad Gita very well by doing this particular thing. So when Krishna speaks, when Bhagavan speaks, that is Bhagavad Gita. Because in the spiritual world, in the spiritual world, there is a verse in the Brahma Samhita, Shriya Kanta Kanta Paramapurushaha. Remember that verse? Chintamani Ganamai Toyam Amrutam Katha Ganam Natyam Gamanam Api Vamshi Priya Sakhi Chidanandam Jyoti Paramapitada Aswadyam Apicha. So Katha Ganam, whenever in a spiritual world or a spiritually perfected person who is most spiritually perfect is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whenever he speaks, that is Ganam, that is always a song. So whenever Krishna in any of his incarnations is speaking anywhere in the Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita or wherever, you can take that as Bhagavad Gita and you can study that very carefully. And by doing so, our own understanding of Srimad Bhagavad Gita gets deeper and deeper, and we understand the connections between all the scriptures. And then we will see that the Bhagavad Gita is like a key. It's like a key to the entire Vedic scriptures. So you remember one verse of the Bhagavad Gita, and you remember 100 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, then you remember pastimes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in this way, we can remain engaged in Krishna consciousness always. After all, our goal in life in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is to be Krishna conscious ourselves, and by ourselves being Krishna conscious, we can help others be Krishna conscious. Yes, because everybody else has forgotten. If we forget Krishna and get into Gramya Katha and start talking about the stock market and politics and movies and weather and this and that, who will remind others of Krishna? Who is going to do that? It's our job. Srila Prabhupada has actually given this job to us through our appearance, always applying tilak, always, as far as possible, dressed in devotional clothes, always chanting the names of Sri Hari everywhere. We are supposed to go out there and purify this universe so that people can benefit and come back. One thing that we observe is in the previous verse, it is said that the Brahmanas are very, very great, but they are very, very humble, and they are tolerant, and they are merciful, and they are kind. Shamo, Damo, Titiksha, like all of these verses are given in the Bhagavad Gita. These are all the qualities of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are very, very humble. Even though they are very exalted, they are very, very humble. And then they are so humble that the Supreme Personality of Godhead worships them. So this reciprocal arrangement where Sri Krishna and the Brahmanas are worshipping each other constantly is very sweet. But it is not like the reciprocal arrangement that exists in the material world. You see all these big billboards with politicians and their big faces everywhere, right? So that kind of reciprocation is called this is not from the scripture. It's from one of the Shubhashitas. It says, Ushranam cha vivaheshu geetam gayanti gardhabha parasparam prashansanti aho rupam aho dhvanihi. So this verse means that the camels, there's a wedding of camels, okay? The camels are getting married to each other. There's one camel family and another camel family, they're getting married, okay? Ushranam cha vivaheshu. And the singers have been invited. Geetam gayanti gardhabha. Right? All the donkeys have been invited to sing in this wedding, right, of camels. The camels are not supposed to be very beautiful. Unless you're a camel, you don't see another camel as beautiful, right? So, or you're a camel like consciousness, then you can see them as beautiful. And Geetam gayanti gardhabha. Nobody actually says that the donkeys are very melodious in their voice, right? But a donkey might appreciate another donkey too. Right? Geetam gayanti parasparam prashansanti. Together they are praising each other. Aho rupam. The donkeys are saying to the camels, Aho rupam. Oh, how beautiful you are. And the camels are saying to the donkeys, Aho dhvanihi. Oh, what a wonderful song. So in the material world, in the business world, in the political world, recently I had been invited to Parliament Hill in Canada to distribute Bhagavad Gitas there. They had a Bhagavad Gita appreciation day, and we had a stall there. They didn't want us to have a stall, but they invited us. So we never show up without books, right? So we always show up with books. Before everybody showed up, our bookstall was set up, and then they could not get us out of there. And we distributed a lot of Bhagavad Gitas right there inside the Parliament buildings. Right? We were all there together. And inside that, they did not give us a chance to speak, because obviously they don't want ISKCON to speak at the Bhagavad Gita event, right? Like, what business is ISKCON have speaking about Bhagavad Gita, right? So all the others were speaking, the politicians, and there was one guru also, but he was also a politician actually, because he did not say one thing about the Bhagavad Gita. He had 3 chances on the stage, and he did not speak one word about the Bhagavad Gita. It was Ushtanam cha vyaheshu Gitam Gayan. He was praising one politician. The politician is praising the guru. This politician is praising that politician. The whole 3 hours we were sitting there appreciating the Bhagavad Gita without talking about the Bhagavad Gita. I had this personal experience. Just recently we were in Ottawa doing this whole thing. So, but the spiritual world is not like that. When Srila Prabhupada praises Srila Narottam Das Thakur, it is because Narottam Das Thakur is praiseworthy. When Narottam Das Thakur is being praised by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or when Srila Prabhupada is praising Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because they are actually praiseworthy. Right? And then, whenever the spiritual master is talking something about the disciple or whatever, it's not because they want anything from them. In Vaishnava culture, it's not this kind of flattery. So we have to remember that the Brahmanas and Sri Vishnu are not like Ushtaranam Javyahavechi Gitam Gayadni Gardhava. It's not like that at all. It's actually because this is worthy. They actually have the qualities of that. Okay? And there is one big misunderstanding, which is that, and demons usually have this misunderstanding. Okay? Hiranyakashipu had one misunderstanding. He says, if I stop the Brahminical culture, if I kill all the cows, for example, then Shri Vishnu will be powerless. He will lose his power, and then I can kill Vishnu. Okay, that was Hiranyakashipu's game plan. That was his plan of action, his strategy. Okay, but it's not possible. Krishna is not actually dependent on anyone, as Srila Prabhupada says in the purport. The other misunderstanding also is that the Brahmanas are somehow inferior or not regarded as in very high esteem, especially in the worldly sense. The Brahmanas are treated very. A real Brahmana, when they walk into a room, nobody actually, in the material world, nobody respects them, right? Just yesterday, I was at one. Just Saturday and Sunday, I was at one temple. We should take it over one day. But it's a traditional temple in Anantagiri of Sri Ananta Padmanabha Swami, where there's a Shaligram Shila. And the Pujari had zero understanding of the philosophy. So because it was a Brahmana in front of the Lord, I did not get into an argument with that person or try to, I just offered my obeisances and came out. But you can see that this education is very, very nil. And people don't actually recognize who is a Brahmana, right? So that's the problem. Most souls are actually born Shudras. Have you ever wondered why they are born as Shudras? They are born as Shudras because Krishna says, Dharma aviruddho kamosmi. So, but Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, that means he says that I am the Kama, which is not contrary to the religious principles. But Krishna also says, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava. So, when someone is born in the material world today, when a couple gets married and goes on honeymoon, you think they are chanting Hare Krishna? They are in Kama eva, Kama esha. And because the child is born out of that kind of consciousness, they are born as a Shudra. Even if they are born in a Brahmana family, it doesn't matter if they are born in a Brahmana family, they are actually Shudras. That's what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying. Did you perform the Garbhadan Samskar before your child was born? Right? Did you do all of these different activities? Did you in ISKCON, the rule is that you have to chant 50 rounds the husband, 50 rounds the wife, and then you might not actually feel like going for a child at that point in time, in which case you try another time. But that's the rule. Our Garbhadan Samskar is chanting 50 rounds, minimum, by the husband and by the wife. And then you actually disclose to your guru and you get permission from your guru that, sir, I'm going to have a child. Do I have your permission? Do I have your blessing? And the guru says yes, then you can do it. And you cannot try more than once a month. So that's the rules in ISKCON that we have. So anybody who is born under that kind of condition, they have a very good chance of actually becoming a Brahmana. Right? So otherwise, all of us, the rest of us, are in Rajoguna and Tamoguna. Okay, I'm going to conclude in a moment. Finally, especially by following the principles of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, by practicing Bhakti Yoga, we can come to the platform of being a Brahmana, Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. We can learn all those qualities. And then, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. When a person has fully dedicated themselves, we have some devotees here who have fully dedicated themselves to the service of Krishna, that person is the real Vaishnava. That person is a real, solid Vaishnava. So, a Brahmana actually means somebody who can begin to appreciate the glories of Sri Govinda, of Sri Madan Mohan here. And there are many stories in this regard. Srila Prabhupada mentions the pastime of Sudama Vipra. There's another famous example of Bhrigu Muni, who was testing who is the most superior among Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. So Bhrigu Muni went and kicked. He went in front of Lord Brahma and did not offer him respect. And when a son goes in front of his father and does not offer respect, that is a very bad thing, and Lord Brahma was very upset with him. In the case of Lord Shiva, he did not offer respect, but Lord Shiva was not affected by that, so he began to blaspheme Lord Shiva in front of him. And Lord Shiva is Narad Muni's elder brother. He's not supposed to do that, but he started saying some things that were not supposed to be said, but just, Bhrigu Muni started saying certain things that was not supposed to be said, and Lord Shiva started chasing him with his Trishul, which is trident. He was very angry, he was about to kill him. And if it wasn't for, Parvati Devi, Bhrigu Muni would be finished. Right? Lord Shiva would have killed him. And then he went to Lord Vishnu, and he went away straight. Lord Vishnu was, in his Shayana, and he went and kicked him on his chest. And the mark of Bhrigu Muni is still on Lord Vishnu's chest. And Lord Vishnu was like, did I hurt you? My chest is very hard. Is your foot hurt? Lakshmi Devi was extremely angry with Bhrigu Muni, and she cursed the Brahmanas that you will never be rich. Because I will never bless you because you kicked my Lord. How can you do this? How can you do this? But this is another example of Lord Vishnu's kindness towards the Brahmanas. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that everything in the material world is impermanent, but Krishna is permanent. Krishna is permanent. So when we have the wealth of Krishna Dhan, Krishna Prema, that Kali Kale, Nama Rupe, Krishna Avatar, and when you say Golokura Premadham, Harinam Sankirtan, when we have this service of spreading Krishna consciousness, distributing books, doing Harinam Sankirtan, serving the Vaishnavas, this is permanent for us. So you can be happy that while you are doing that, if you leave your body, then you won't have any problem. So let us focus all of our energies in Krishna. Let us not get distracted by this thing or that thing. Even though we have to do other things in the world, we can do them like the dishonest housewife and just keep doing whatever we need to do while we focus on this. So we have so many different plans. Let us stop making all these plans and focus on Krishna. Plan A is Krishna, Plan B is Krishna, Plan C is Krishna. Basically find out what service Krishna wants me to do. That's what we have to do. Okay, so let us stay there, and I will pause here and see if there's any questions, comments, or any corrections, or any reflections, or anything that anybody would like to add to this.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, very clearly mentioned everything nicely. I'm also from Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver?
Yeah, Canada. Manudas. Anyway, I'll meet you later. But you are mentioning in Parliament you are invited. Is it on the Bhagavad Gita, Advent of Bhagavad Gita, they asked you to come? When did they ask you? Why? How it happened?
There was this other organization, I won't mention the name of the organization, that has created their own Bhagavad Gita, and they are from Kurukshetra, and they are sponsored by the government of Haryana. And they basically, a bunch of politicians and staff came there with their wives and children to have a holiday in Canada. So they made this event basically for themselves so they can spend government money to get a holiday in Canada. So, and then somebody in the connection said, they're doing a Bhagavad Gita event, you're invited. And there's one politician in Ottawa who likes the Bhagavad Gita. So he's known to us. So he invited us to come. And we knew that if we come afterward, then they just throw us into some corner and not give us any kind of prominence. So we showed up very early in the morning. The event was starting at, I think, 9 o'clock. We were there before 8 o'clock. We got it through security with all our boxes of Bhagavad Gitas. We went through all the scanners. They have all these security scanners, just like in the airport. So they tested all of our boxes of Bhagavad Gita. And we took Bhagavad Gitas in various languages. All the security officers took Bhagavad Gitas. There were Arabic Bhagavad Gitas distributed, French Bhagavad Gitas distributed. It was an amazing day. And before everybody showed up after they drinking their tea and whatever they did in the morning, we had already started distributing Bhagavad Gitas in the main hall there. And it was great. And the whole day, and we were distributing the whole day, even outside. The whole thing was surcharged. They did not allow us to speak, and they were giving Bhagavad Gitas free of charge. And we were accepting donations. And we were saying, give us whatever donation for the temple. The cost is, whatever, $15 in Canada is the cost of the Bhagavad Gita. So they were giving more. They were saying more. And then one person from the other organization came and said, but we are giving away the Bhagavad Gita for free. And these gentlemen and ladies were saying, but this one is better. So we have heard a lot about this one. We'll take this one. So it was definitely, it was great. Thank you.
One comment is that during this month of December, how come you are in India when the Toronto is going book marathon? It's surprising.
So I did the first week in India, in Toronto, and I distribute books all year round in Toronto. But last year in December, I was here just for 2 weeks, and I experienced marathon in India. And then after that, so I have to come here for various reasons only in December because of the school vacations and so on and so forth. So, but I'm distributing books every day. So that's how it goes. I can't distribute like the brahmacharis, who are there 12 hours, 14 hours, 16 hours a day. But yeah, we distributed in Anantagiri too yesterday. And we'll distribute here. We distribute to the fellow who brought us here. We are out on the street distributing. And I don't see other devotees where I'm distributing, so I think I'm distributing in an area where the devotees are not going yet. So it's good that I'm here and I can distribute. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we will end here. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada book distribution ki jai, Srila Prabhupada book marathon ki jai. Please, all of the devotees who are here, please help us. If you see a brahmachari or anybody else distributing books on the street, even if you have 100 Bhagavad Gitas in your house, take a couple from them. It will make them very happy. It will encourage them, keep them going for a little bit more time. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantagoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.